Hello, everybody, and welcome in to a special edition of Texas Longhorns here. I am your host, as you see me every Monday, Matthew Miller. There I am at X. If you haven't followed me, go over there, follow me, subscribe, like the content. Go over to the new Voice of College Football Twitter page and like that. It's all college football all the time now, so please go do that. And let's jump into it. Dakorien Moore blows up the fourth. Thought it was a good title. He held multiple fan bases hostage basically all of last night. So does this hurt for Texas? Absolutely. And I wanted to dive into things that I think aren't being talked about, that are being glossed over, and stuff that's being overtalked, honestly, because I think the NIL portion of this is being overtalked a little bit in some circles. Some circles it isn't being talked about enough. So I'm going to lay out facts for you. These are facts. You cannot deny these. Then I'm going to tie that in with what I believe to be the case of this recruitment, my opinion of the recruitment in general, and then we're going to move on to recruiting updates because we do have some down the pipeline that I do believe are going to hit and going to be very good players at the University of Texas. Has this been a rough stretch? Absolutely. I don't even think this one hurts as much as like the Josiah Sharman one does because the defensive line is where we really need it right now. So again, hit that like button, subscribe every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time and 6 p.m. Central where it counts in Austin, Texas. Check me out on Twitter as well. And let's jump into this. So Dakorien Moore decided a couple days ago, as we're speaking, this is July 5th. It's going to come out at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Came out yesterday and decided it's going to be Oregon. Now, this is a fact, guys. You cannot deny this, was committed to the University of Texas silently. He said he was going to be there. He said that to the coaches, said that with his family. Something changed. He visited Texas on the 14th. He visited Oregon the following week on the 21st. Now, let's lay this out. He's the number one wide receiver in the country, number 3 player overall. From Duncanville, obviously, he chooses Oregon over Texas. Oregon has the same recruiting director as A&M when they pulled in the number 1 class in, I believe, 2022. Fact. His name's Patrick Biondo. Did a great job with A&M, obviously doing a great job with Oregon. His lead recruiter, Rashad Samples. His dad, Reginald Samples, is the coach at Duncanville High School. Phil Knight, 86 years old. He's a billionaire worth $60.8 billion, obviously highly involved in athletics. Monetarily, I don't know how much he knows about sports in general, but monetarily, he is involved. They also have a bunch of great recruiters on staff. I think Texas has some good recruiters. I think Sark is a good recruiter. I think Tashard Choice is a good recruiter. I think Kyle Flood's a good recruiter, but these guys have more. Just to name a few, Tosh Lupoy, who has been a recruiter of the year multiple times. Junior Adams, Dan Lanning was a great recruiter at Georgia. Seems to be doing a great job at Oregon. And then Rashad Samples, who I talked about, who was at the University of Texas. He has been at 4 different jobs in 4 years. He was at Texas. I forget where he was prior, but then he went to the NFL with the Rams, and now he's with Oregon. We'll see how long he lasts there. Dakorien Moore's quote, which I think speaks volume here. I chose the path to be different and build a legacy. Oregon has never had a top 7 recruiting class outside of the NIL. Never happened. Last Oregon receiver to be drafted in the first round is Ahmad Rashad in 1972. They have 16 drafted wide receivers ever. Let me repeat that. They have 16, including Troy Franklin last year, wide receivers drafted ever. Those are all facts, guys. It is my turn to give you my opinion of what I believe happened here. I believe Dakorien Moore's family wanted him to go to Texas. I believe at one point Dakorien Moore probably wanted to go to Texas. I think on the Oregon visit, he fell in love with the beautiful facilities they have, because they do. They might even have better facilities than Texas. They might have some of the best. They might have the best facilities in the country. That Eugene is also very pretty. Probably fell in love with that. He already talked about the uniforms last night on the live stream. I think that had a lot to do with it. I think you would be kidding yourself if you don't think NIL had something to do with it. Also, I think this is the biggest thing, because he said it. I chose the path to be different and build a legacy. Dakorien Moore chose to end his recruitment on July 4th, a national holiday. Most people are busy. He wants all the attention to himself. He drew it out for about an hour. This guy wants the spotlight and attention to be on him. I think that's very clear. And at Texas, no offense to him, he probably gets caught, lost in that locker room. You have Arch Manning, He's not the biggest star. He's not going to be a bigger star than Arch Manning. I think Ryan Wingo will have a year of production under his belt. I don't think he's going to be a bigger star than Ryan Wingo if he comes here. There's other guys on this roster. Anthony Hill, I think, is going to make a big name for himself. I don't think he's a bigger name than Anthony Hill his freshman year. He goes to Oregon. He's immediately the biggest name on that team, period. Period. He is. And Sark has talked about building a culture, and it's a we culture. It's not an I culture. Is Dakorien more obviously talented? Absolutely. Would we have loved to have him at the University of Texas? Absolutely. But do I know if he's a culture fit? No, I don't. I think that's very clear when you go on a live on a national holiday, and it's a begging for attention to me. That's how it comes off to me. It comes off as very, look at me, look at me, look at me. And there's a lot of that going on, no doubt. But I'm trying to think of the last Texas guy where it was look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's been a long time, guys. It really has. Like Arch Manning, not that guy. Quinn Ewers, definitely not that guy. I think wide receiver, Xavier Worthy had a little bit of that in him, but not really. The most he ever did was he liked other people's stuff about getting more NIL money and kind of made it like muddy water about, hey, I might leave NIL. But that was mostly behind closed doors. He never came out and said that. This to me screams of I culture. So would I have taken Dakorien more? Absolutely. He's a great prospect. Probably going to be a first-round draft pick when he decides to come out 3 years. But do I know if he fits? I do not. I don't even know him personally. Obviously, I probably never will. If you ever saw this video, you'd probably hate me. But the thing is, there is a lot of question marks to me on that. So I think that's part of it. Number two, you cannot lie to my face because I've heard this from other big sites and tell me Rashad Samples and Reginald Samples don't have anything to do with this. Nothing. Zero. That's a lie. That's a lie. You cannot lie to my face and tell me that. That is a straight up lie. If you believe that, let's go ahead and don't believe that. Don't believe that Reginald's like, man, why don't you take a visit to Oregon? You know, Oregon's got a lot to offer. You tell me that conversation never happened? I highly doubt that. Your son's there. You want him to succeed. Now, is that going to make Rashad Samples had to knock this out of the park once he got there, but he clearly did that. Congratulations to him. And that's another thing. I think their staff seem to have a unified message of come here and create your own legacy. And on top of that, you get to wear our cool uniforms. You get a lot of NIL money, and you get to have eventually probably plaques and statues put up around you if you perform well enough. I think that was the recruiting message, whereas I think Texas was come here, be a part of the cog in the machine, win, and we'll get you to the NFL. That easy approach does work with a lot of recruits. The other approach also works with a lot of recruits. And right now, I think Oregon's approach is winning. Come here, be different, make a lot of money. Texas have come here, be part of a great team, win a national championship. Not a part of that. Now, can Oregon win a national championship? Absolutely they can. I'm not saying that. But I think that's the pitch that Texas is doing. And I think that's the pitch that Oregon's doing. And that one's winning her out right now. Do I think they're just money whipping people? On this one, I do think they money whipped a little bit. Is it most of the pie? Absolutely not. Jamari Caldwell, who transferred there instead of Texas, was 100% because Bo Davis left. If Bo Davis is at Texas still, Jamari Caldwell is at Texas still. Or would have gone to Texas. Jabbar Muhammad wanted guaranteed playing time. Texas was not willing to offer that. He went to Oregon. Nothing to do with NIL. Josiah Sharman went to bed, and everything pointed to Texas. Similar to DK Moore up until about probably yesterday, honestly, everything pointed to Texas. And then all of a sudden it changed. You're not telling me NIL had nothing to do with that. Don't lie to my face. I was born at night. I was not born last night. And am I complaining? No. Texas, if you really want someone, pay up and pay more. You have more money. You have more money. Texas is the richest college football program in America, and it's not close. When you account for we played in the Big 12, and we got far less revenue than A&M, and I believe Ohio State are 2-3, or maybe it's Oklahoma. When you switch to the SEC, Texas is going to be far and away the richest college football team. They're already $30 million above second place. They're going to be 50 to 60 when that happens. You have the money, spend it if you really want someone. So that's on Texas. That part is on Texas, 100%. But we cannot pitch Oregon's main pitch is, which is I choose the path to be different, build a legacy. There's legacies here in that wide receiver room. Xavier Worthy has one. A.D. Mitchell has one. Roy Williams has one. B.J. Johnson has one. Jordan Shipley has one. There's multiple wide receivers who have come here, done a great job, and moved on to the NFL. There isn't that at Oregon. This guy can stand out of being the best wide receiver in the history of Oregon football who goes to the NFL and is great and is the first great wide receiver in the NFL of Oregon football. So that's another part of the pie. And like I said, NIL, great recruiting staff. His dad and son, that plays a role here. I don't care what anyone says. They can lie to you if they want. And then also Patrick Biondo, he plays a factor in this, guys. If the guy got Texas A&M the best high school recruiting class in the history of high school football, and he's going to get the number. I think Oregon's going to get the number one class with the guys they're bringing in and the guys they're going to flip. That doesn't just happen overnight. That happens with good direction from one guy and this guy, getting the staff unified on a certain message and getting the money up. And there's no doubt in my mind that Oregon was never really a big factor in top 10 recruiting classes. I think they've had 3 or 4 over the years prior to NIL. And then all of a sudden you're just becoming the best, kind of like A&M. They were up there, but they were never top 5. They sometimes were top 10. And then they're number 1. Guys, that's NIL. That little gap is NIL. Moving from 8th to 9th best recruiting, which Oregon's probably been over the last half decade, to 1 or 2, that is the gap that is closed by NIL. And you cannot lie to my face and tell me it's not. And again, I'm not complaining. I'm just giving you my opinion. If you disagree with that opinion, hit me up in the comments, join the show Monday, and discuss it with me. Because Texas, to me, if you think Dakorien Moore is the best prospect you could have gotten under Steve at Texas, why Steve Sarkisian's been there, let's say he's number 1, why Sark has been there. There's no one even close. You need to get your money up, son. Period. If that's the number 1 guy for you since you've been at Texas, pay him. I don't care what he wants, pay it. And I don't think they're willing to do that. Now, I will say again, the culture, I do like that. I like the culture of, you want to be here, we can talk NIL. If you're on the fence about being here, we're not going to talk about NIL. So we'll see what approach pays off. The Oregon approach so far has not worked. I will say that. But it is very early in NIL, and I'd be stupid to say it won't work. So far, it has not. It didn't work for Miami. It hasn't worked for A&M, and it probably won't. They've kind of come back a little bit towards the pack on that since Jimbo's left, but it didn't work for him. Oregon's kind of like the last school that's really doing that. Ohio State did it this year, but prior they didn't. I'm trying to think anyone else. I don't think USC's really done it to their extent at all. Georgia, it wins, so it's hard for me to say that's mostly NIL. I think those are the 2 to now 3 schools that stand out to me. If it works for Oregon, then I think you're going to see more teams doing it. But I really believe in Sark's approach of, if you want to be here, we can talk NIL, but we're not just going to pay otherworldly money to get you on campus, to prove that you want to be here. That's basically what you're doing. He pays it when you say you want to be here. And when you're at Texas, you'll get taken care of. And then, guys, guess what? We can go in the portal to get another wide receiver. We got A.D. Mitchell out of the portal. We got Isaiah Bond out of the portal. This one honestly doesn't hurt to me as much as the Josiah Sharman one, as much as the Jamari Caldwell one, because those guys are harder to find in the portal. Wide receivers are easy to find in the portal. Heck, we're going to get to the recruiting update. We still have a bunch of wide receivers that we could possibly get. And if we get 2 out of 3 of them, I'm happy. I don't care. Is Dakorien Moore a all-time great recruit? Yes. According to sources or scouts and everything like that, he is. I actually had him number 2. I think Khalil Lockett is my number 1. I had Dakorien Moore 2. So we might as well jump into that. That is the Dakorien Moore portion of this. We'll get into the updates now. So Brandon Brown today, I don't know what time, but I would assume he flips to LSU today. It's really hard for me to believe he doesn't. I also think it's disrespectful. It really is. If he wasn't a high guy, I would have just dropped him already if I was Sark. But you're going to recruit today when you're already committed to Texas. Doesn't make any sense to me. Why are you committed to Texas if you're still taking official visits, have an announcement day between 4 schools when you're committed to another? Doesn't make sense. He's going to flip to LSU. I'd fully expect that. DJ Sanders, I will say, we are the favorite for. Oregon is not involved in this recruitment. It is Michigan and A&M. I do expect this guy to pick Texas. He comes out in the next week or so. I expect DJ Sanders to be a Longhorn. Next up, we have Jonathan Cunningham, linebacker, choosing between Utah, TCU, and Kansas. I see him as an outside linebacker. Could he play middle linebacker? I guess, but I think he's an outside linebacker. Playing time could be an issue because, like I mentioned, you have TCU and Utah and Kansas there. He would play a decent amount in his first year at least 2 out of 3 of those schools, probably all 3. At Texas, he's going to play very little. He'll be a special teams player. He'll get developed. And if he wants to get developed and possibly go to the NFL, I think he comes to Texas. If he wants to play right away, he's going to go to one of those 3 schools. So I think that's 50-50. Another guy that I expect to pick Texas, and Texas does need to hit on this, is defensive back 4-star Cade Phillips. It's going to be LSU or Texas. If he wants to play cornerback, it's LSU. If he's open to playing safety, it will be Texas. We need this guy. This is one of the guys I'm circling here. We have to hit on Cade Phillips. We have to hit on DJ Sanders. Now, on July 8th, this one is number one on my list of guys that are committing soon. Nick Townsend, tight end athlete. That guy's a freak. Go check out the tape. He's basically a wide receiver who plays tight end. They pitched him on the Jatavian Sanders role. I think he's just as good of an athlete, if not better, than Amari Niblack. So this guy's a freak. We already have Emery Winston in the class at tight end. I think this would be a fantastic tight end class if we landed him. He's heavy Texas right now, but who knows? Again, Oregon's not in this one. Wilt Fong did put in a prediction. He's right like 91, 92% of the time. So I fully expect him to be at Texas. Wide receiver Tanook Hines and also Kelshawn Johnson are on July 8th. Now, I think Texas will make these guys more of a priority. But the problem is, guys, as they should, by the way, I would feel disrespected too. They know if Texas is pushing harder now, they're like, thanks, guys. We know we were like our fourth or fifth choice behind Jamie French, Khaleke Lockett, Dakorien Moore, and then whoever they choose out of this, that's their fourth choice. So they're going to feel disrespected about it because they're like, you're only pushing because you lost Dakorien Moore. If you had Dakorien Moore, you wouldn't be pushing us. So to me, if one of these guys chooses Texas, they absolutely love Texas. They're like, damn, I don't care. I love Texas. They got an opening. I'm going. So that'd be really awesome. It'd be exactly what you want here. Someone who absolutely just loves the University of Texas. I think it's more Kelshawn Johnson than Tanook Hines. I think Tanook Hines is gone. I think he's going to Notre Dame. I think Kelshawn Johnson does want to be at Texas. And the playing time question has definitely opened up. Like I said, when he came on the visit, Sark gave him the meeting saying, hey, you're going to get playing time. You have to compete, but you will get playing time. You're a talented kid, and we do want you. He literally sat him down and said that before he left, so I think that gave him a lot to think about. And now Dakorien Moore's gone, so you're definitely going to get playing time. And if we miss out on both Jamie French and Khaleke Lockett, you're definitely getting playing time, no doubt, even in a really talented room. Next up, we have three-star Nathan Tillman. Super high upside here, 6'1", 185. Love the tape. He reminds me of Smith-Orogbo. I think Nick Townsend, Nathan Tillman, and Smith-Orogbo, 2 of 3, aren't committed here, but if they came here, would be the highest upside recruits in the class. Not saying they're the best. I think they have the highest upside. If you can develop 2 out of 3 of them, you did a great job, and you got probably 2 high-end NFL players, honestly. And then 4-star Lamont Rogers. I don't expect him to go to Texas, but nobody knows where he's going to go. Nobody. The guess is Missouri. We'll see what happens. It would be really nice to have him. Imagine you get him and Fasusi, which I think you're going to get one or the other. I don't think you get both, but it'd be nice to have both. That'd be up there again with how good of a class that is compared to like the 2022 class. That was the best offensive line recruiting class of all time. This one could be up there if they were able to land both. I don't think they land both, so it's going to be interesting. So guys, Riley Pettijohn, too, I forgot to mention. I think he's going to go to USC or Ohio State. I think he wants to be the number 1 guy at linebacker, and we have Bo Barnes in here, so he'd have to compete for that. I don't see him coming here, which sucks. He's a really good player. Ohio State, USC is getting a very good player. I don't think he's going to flip either. I will say this. Texas is going to flip 1 or 2 guys. It happens every year. We always flip 1 or 2 guys. We flipped Terrence Brooks, Sark's first year, from Ohio State to Texas. We flipped Anthony Hill. We flipped Ty Anthony Smith. We're going to flip somebody. Whether that be Dakorien Moore, whether that be a Josiah Sharman, whether that be a Myron Charles, we will see. We'll flip 1 of them, most likely. I don't think we flip 2. But guys, to me, Texas fans, in my opinion, if you're not getting Nathan Tillman, you're not getting Cade Phillips, and you're not getting Nick Townsend in the next week, the staff has failed. I will come out and say it. They have failed when that does happen, because those are 3 guys you have to get. Those are 3 guys leaning to Texas. And you have failed at what you're supposed to be doing, honestly, if you don't end up with all 3 of those guys. Anyone else, honestly, is a cherry on top. I think everyone else is probably 50-50 or leaning somewhere else, but Townsend is leaning Texas. Tillman, I think, is leaning Texas. Cade Phillips is leaning Texas. You have to go 3 for 3 there. You have to. And another thing I want to make on the NIL comment, guys, we just made a college football playoff, and there's a good chance it's the worst recruiting class Sark will have. Think about that. We're the best we ever have been under Steve Sarkisian. We're going to have worse recruiting, but NIL doesn't have anything to play into that. Okay. Yeah, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button again, guys. It really helps out the channel, the algorithm, what we're trying to build here. I appreciate. Let me know in the comments what you agree, disagree with. I think I'm going to hit on all the points, not as eloquently as I like to. A lot of caffeine this morning, a lot of not emotion, but a lot of thought. I'm going to continue to digest this, and I'll share my thoughts with you when they do come up. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for being here. Hook 'em, guys. And I hope we land a couple of these big-time recruits. We're going to need it. Thanks.